Hey, what's up everybody? In this video, I'm going to be giving you guys all of my settings, gameplay settings, controller settings, audio and video settings. So let's get right into it. So over in the gameplay settings on interact prompt style, I like having this on default, but in hints I have it turned on. Over on crosshair damage feedback, I like having this turned off. It does help reduce visual clutter when you're shooting at an enemy player. So over on damage numbers, stacking is clearly the best option. It gives you a nice, easy to read number of the damage that you do to an enemy player. Enemy health bar, you're definitely going to want this turned on. It's basically the health bar that you see when you damage an enemy player. Ping opacity, not a huge setting. I have it on default. So with enemy highlight, you definitely want this turned on. I don't notice this a lot when I'm playing the game, but basically sometimes you'll see a very thin red outline surrounding the enemy players, and it does help you see them more easily. Obituaries, I have this turned on. This is basically a list of all the players that die in the lobby, and you can see it at the top right of the screen when someone's playing. Minimap rotation, I have this turned off. I like having it, in a stationary position. Weapon auto cycle on empty, definitely recommend that you guys have this turned off. Always sprint, highly recommend that you guys have this turned on. This is going to help you guys with momentum, maintaining speed in the game, and you're definitely going to want to have speed at all times, especially when you're going to mantle on objects, especially with the new super glide mechanic that's in the game. Auto run, I don't really see anybody using this. I don't think it's a necessary setting. I think they recently added this into the game. I have it turned off. Jetpack glide control, I like having it on toggle. Some people might recommend hold. I like it on toggle. I like if I'm playing Lifeline, for example, or Valkyrie, I like just tapping the button and then flying and then tapping it again to stop using the jetpack, for example. So I just think it's really easy to have it on toggle. So mantle boost activation, as you guys know, there's this new super glide mechanic where you could press a button when you're mantling on an object. I have it on jump. Some of you guys might want to experiment with this and change it to crouch, for example, which is this one right here. I like having it on jump. It works with me. It's really convenient, and that's what I use. Mantle boost UI, I like having it on full. I like being able to see it. It definitely helps me time it and be more accurate with it. If you don't like it on your screen, you can hide the prompt or make it minimal, but I have it on full. Incoming damage feedback, I have this on 3D. Basically, when you get shot at and take damage, you'll notice these red markers on your screen that indicate what direction they're coming from. I like having them on 3D. It does help me see them a bit more easily. Taking damage closes death box or crafting menu. This setting is turned on by default. I think it's a really bad setting. You guys definitely want this turned off. So if you're in the ring, for example, taking damage and you need to go to a replicator, maybe you need to get a med kit, if you have this turned on, it's going to force you out of that replicator as soon as you take damage. And the reason why that's not good is because it can prevent you from crafting, and it also can prevent you from doing shield swaps. So if you're in the middle of the fight and you need to do a really quick shield swap, and let's say you get shot at as you're doing it, it's going to force you out of that death box. And you definitely don't want that to happen, because getting that shield swap could be the difference between surviving that fight or losing. Health and ammo pop-ups is on. More information is better in my opinion. I don't think it adds too much visual clutter. Health and ammo voice lines, not a really important setting, but I have it turned on. Arsenal map and HUD icons, I have it on maximum. Definitely important to know where all the arsenals are in the game, especially if you need ammo, if you need to upgrade your weapon. Off-screen portraits, I personally have this off. Some people like having it on. It's not a huge deal. It's definitely preference-based. It can help you see your teammates a bit more easily when they're not in your field of view, but I personally like having it turned off. Hop-up, pop-up, not really an important setting. I have it turned off. Having it on or off is not a huge deal. All these settings over here are not a huge deal. These are all going to be preference-based. So right here for the reticle or for the crosshairs, I'm using this color right here. It's a nice yellow goldish color. You guys can use the same one if you want as well with the numbers that are right here. And for the laser sight, I'm also using a yellowish goldish color. You guys can use the numbers right here if you want the same color as me. It's pretty cool. These settings right here are not that important. They're all preference-based. So now on over to the controller settings. Button layout, I am using a PlayStation 5 controller. I do have two paddles on the back of my controller. The left one is for crouch, the right one is for jump, and I use the default button layout. If you want to customize your button layout, this is the place to do it. Stick layout is default, interact reload button, tap to use and reload. Crouch button is toggle. Some people like having this on hold. This is definitely going to be preference based. If you like using certain movement in the game like bunny hopping, you're going to have this on hold. But for me, I like using toggle. It fits my play style, and I just think it's really simple to just tap the button instead of holding it. Aim button is hold. Survival slot button is on. Adaptive triggers is off. Trigger dead zones is none. Menu cursor speed, you definitely want to turn this up a little bit. This is going to help you with shield swaps. Don't have it too fast. You do want to have it at a speed that's comfortable for you, so that way you don't miss things when you're doing, quick looting in a death box. So over to the actual settings that you guys came here for. What I use personally is 4:3 linear with small look dead zone. Now, linear is definitely difficult to learn. It is the best response curve in Apex. If linear is hard for you, I definitely think classic is the next best best option. And also, if you're a more casual player, I think Classic is the best option. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with Classic. You could absolutely be an amazing player with it. But for me, I like pushing the boundaries, so I use linear. And I use 4:3 linear, which is basically the same settings that all pro players are using, or at least the vast majority of them. And so these are the settings that I've used in this game for years. I've reached master's rank with it, countless 20 bombs. This is what I use. Over on the per optic settings, I do not use this, and the reason is because I like having consistency with my aim. I don't like having different sensitivities when I use different optics. Now, if you're someone that likes using snipers a lot, you can, turn up the speed a little bit, which can help you with tracking, because if you're using a 8x or 10x optic, for example, aiming is definitely a lot slower. So if you're someone that likes snipers, you might want to speed up some of these. But for me, I like having it all on default. Movement dead zone is small, inverted look is off. I don't know who would ever play on inverted. That sounds really funky to me. Vibration, you definitely want this off. I think vibration is probably fine in a single player game, but when you're playing a multiplayer game, you definitely don't want your controller vibrating every single time you fire your weapon. It definitely can distract you and just make things worse, basically. So now over to the advanced look controls. I do not use these. I have everything turned off to the left, absolutely everything. At the very bottom though, make sure that you guys have both of these turned on. This is aim assist. You guys absolutely want this turned on. Once you guys have this turned on, if you're not using ALCs, then make sure you press the off button like I do, because I don't use these. So over in the video settings, this is going to be mostly for you guys that play on PC. I play on 1440p. My brightness is at 55%. Field of view is 104. FOV ability scaling, definitely recommend you guys have this disabled. Sprint view shake, you definitely want this on minimal. You definitely don't want your screen shaking more than it needs to be when you're sprinting. UI layout mode, this looks like a new setting. I have it on auto. I don't think it's an important setting at all. Over on the graphics setting, I pretty much have everything low. NVIDIA Reflex enabled plus boost. Texture streaming budget is on high. Besides that, everything is on low. And that's basically just to maximize my frames per second, my FPS. Over on audio, master volume is 100%. All these other settings are more preference based depending on what you're using. I'm using a Shure microphone right here. And so down over here in the advanced section, sound effects volume, you definitely want at 100%. Dialogue volume, I turn it down. Basically, as you're playing the game, the people that are on your team, the legends, they might have certain voice lines that they use. By turning it down, it's still nice and loud. I can hear it fine, but it doesn't like drown out other important sounds like footsteps. So I have it at 40%. Music volume, lobby music volume, I have it turned down. Gameplay volume when spectating, basically when you die and you're queuing up for the next game and you're spectating the player that killed you. I like having this turned down in case I want to chat with my friends if I'm in a party. It just helps me hear everything a bit better. These settings right here are not that important. This one's turned on, this one's turned off. And that is it for the settings video. I hope that this video can help you guys out. If you got any questions, please leave a comment, please subscribe, and I will catch you guys on the next video.